Hello, hello.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to our monthly town hall, guys.
Good to see all of you again.
Yes, I think to those who came from the so-called live session, welcome. This is PathDAO. We're going to be getting into really interesting details tonight. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. We're talking about past. We're talking about future. To everyone else, all your burning questions, please type it in the chat. Keep it coming. We will answer them towards the end, or maybe if we're feeling like it, we'll just pick one up every once in a while, right? So actually, before we start, we do have goodies for you. For those who are tuning into the stream, as always, Path Plays secret code. Secret code number 1 is
Actually, what is it?
is Townhall. Path Plays secret code number 1.
Townhall.
Townhall. Townhall. You can check it in the banner below. If you don't know where to key this in, head to our Discord channel. There will be a Google form and guide into how to claim the secret prize. All right, stay tuned for the second secret code towards the end of the stream. Now, to the main topic.
Yes, sir.
We are 1 year old. PathDAO.
Yep. It's quite a...
Let us know. Tell me how you're feeling. Maybe we'll start with Wiki.
Honestly, if I reflect 2022, I have this sense of peace. It's because obviously it's very turbulent for the whole year. But for the DAO, I think we were conservative enough to basically weather this through. Sadly, though, there's not much sort of significant progress as much as I wanted to. But at the same time, we didn't lose the resources that we need. So in that sense, I'm having this peace of mind because I'm super ready to have the team built in 2023. That's my reflection.
Very nice.
Yep. I mean, it's been a year, right? A year is actually quite a long time for many, short time for some. But honestly, I can still remember the days, right, where we actually started this off. And we started as an NFT project in November, I think. Right, I think back then, I'm not sure if most of you guys are there yet, but yeah, it started off as a very small community coming from like cybercongs, punks, right? And we were all like, okay, let's build an NFT project. Let's then use the funds to start a DAO and build this whole gaming scholarship model, right? Yeah. And honestly, from that first day of Mint to today, it was an insane ride. It's really insane, right? Like, we can still remember the days where we were still thinking like, okay, as an NFT project, do we want to launch a token? Do we want to fundraise, right?
Yeah.
And then you have arguments in Discord as well. With the early NFT communities, right? They'd be like, okay, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. Everyone's having like so many different ideas.
Yeah.
And then, we did a token raise, we did a VC round, and things led to a lot of different opinions across the entire community as well, right?
Yep.
Especially in the investor community, and then we evolve here and there, PIPs here and there, tokens fluctuating up and down. I think honestly, it was a ride, and I think behind the scenes as well, when we were building up the team, we started off as like, I think 3 core people with like 4 other people helping out to set up the operations. And today we are standing at like what, 25 core people.
Wow.
I think with more, if you consider some of the other subsidiaries like Team Path and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
So it's insane. I think even behind the scenes, like growing the core contributor team, growing the community, and just figure out how do we navigate like this crazy year, right? In the crypto space. Yeah. Amazing, right? Honestly. Yeah.
Very nice. I'm kind of curious, like, back then during that sort of early crazy ride versus now, you're managing, like both of you guys, you're managing a team of like 25 people. It must be very different. Like, is there a preference in like which stage of the project building cycle you prefer?
Honestly, like back then it was more very sharp, like what we were trying to do, right? We were like, okay, let's build an NFT project, let's build a starting community. It was very clear, like what's needed to be done.
Right.
And I feel like the level of achievement that you need to that is set for you, it's not that high. right? In the sense that, okay, we just need to get X amount of people in our whitelist, X amount of people into the community, right?
Yep.
Even when we were doing the VC fundraising stage, right? It's about approaching X amount of VCs, closing X amount of partners, advisors, and whatnot, right? It's very achievable.
Yep.
I feel like now we're at a stage where we are big, we have the resources, the expectations grew exponentially higher as well.
Yep.
And with more people to try to achieve that, it gets a bit more hectic. There's a lot more shit happening, right? And the expectations become way more unclear, higher but and more unclear, right? So I think that's the reality when you're growing big and when you're growing fast. But honestly, I enjoy it now. I would say more than back then because it's more challenging, right? You live life more on the edge.
Yeah. Actually, I actually wanted to save this question for maybe after we talk a little bit about, what we set out in the start of 2022. But maybe just quickly on this, what were the biggest challenges that, both of you faced? I guess in the process, in this whole 1 year, right?
It was actually a lot of pivot. I mean, you probably felt it firsthand. I mean, if I think about it, right, when we first started, we thought, wow, play to earn, obviously with whole Web3 gaming, started out as a Ponzi, but we truly believe that eventually it will sort of hit mainstream adoption, coupled with sort of venture capital investment is sort of the right way to do it. Fast forward 1 year, a lot of learnings. On the VC front, we basically feel that number one, having sort of based in Malaysia is actually a disadvantage for us, given that we do not have sort of the connection to mainly the builders in sort of the States or even like China, Korea, etc. Number two is that from a sort of DAO liquidity standpoint, it actually makes more sense for us to actually do liquid investment still within the scene, but public instead of private, right? I think third point is just mainly like from an incentive structure point of view, when you're competing with venture capitals who are like, trying to get management fees, etc., with different sort of incentive structure versus us, who's really looking at cash return, we sort of pivoted. So for the three reasons, right? So that's just one example, but along the way, there are a lot of sort of minor pivots, right? So this is sort of the biggest challenge. And I think even moving ahead, because of the size that we are at of 25 people with different initiatives, it's actually very important for us to still keep focus on sort of one or two or maybe three key things that really move the needle, because resources are finite and our time is also finite. I think that would be something that we have to keep in mind.
Awesome. Actually, then, because you alluded to the point of pivots, right? I kind of want to bring this up. Could we get the, early 2022, what we initially set out with? Maybe, Jensen, you could walk us through a little bit about, what have you accomplished here? What has sort of pivoted? And actually, what would you have, I guess, hoped to see, right?
Yeah. So I think when we started off this strategy, I think to give even context, right, before we even build this strategy, when we started off, we were saying like, okay, let's just build a guild, right? Use capital, build scholarship farms. And that was the initial approach. And when we did our fundraise, we actually raised way more capital than we expected, right?
Yeah.
And in our head was like, you will never be efficient on this capital if you're just going down the scholarship model.
Yeah.
And hence we wanted to do more investments. Because back then we knew that there was massive alpha within the VC stage. Like invest money at the early stage, when they go public within the next few months.
You talk about retail?
Pretty much, right? I mean, there's what a lot of launch pads. Yeah, we never did that. Yeah. But a lot of launch pads, and that was a model, right? And VCs were just flying high during the crypto bull market last year. But we were thinking, okay, that is one of the best ways to build, right? And then we realized then beyond just for us to then get into these investments, how do we position Path as the go-to investor? Right? Why will you take money from us, right, and not other VCs out there? So the thinking was to build some form of ecosystem that could help with distribution, right? Like how can you build an ecosystem that could build up a lot of gamers in the community?
Yeah.
So then when these developers that are they want to build games, you can go to them and say like, hey, look, I don't just give you money, I also give you eyeballs, players, and player liquidity.
Yeah.
So that was the initial core thinking, right? And that's where we set out to say like, okay, there are 5 key pillars for us to do this, right? We have the VC side that we invest. We have the gaming platform side that was to help with game discovery initially. We had the fintech side was to help to provide, I would say, financial access to gamers within our community, right? So that they could actually own more assets or also just live life better, right? So that was the third value prop. And then there's a fourth value prop around the guild model. And then the fifth was how can we then bring more insights, right, and knowledge to the space. And that ideally would position us as a brand like, okay, you guys are the best like guild out there to take money from, right? So we actually set out, right? We executed each of these pillars across the year, each to different varying degrees of success, right? So I think in all honesty, like the whole insights part, for example, right? Like we did try to publish some articles and stuff like that. But after a while, we realized, okay, it's great being a thought leader, but that doesn't really convert users,
Right.
in the end. But actually, sorry, taking a step back, right? I think from that approach of trying to invest and then trying to build this whole distribution environment, we've realized at the core of it, the key value driver in the end is actually still distribution, right? Like, regardless of how we put it out, whether it's for investments or helping games grow or whatnot, right? Having a large community of people around you and having control of these eyeballs makes you very valuable. It's effectively becoming like the Nintendo, right? Or like the distributors of the Web2 gaming space.
Right.
So we still believe that that part is hypercritical, right? In actually capturing value in the whole gaming scene.
Yeah.
But when we started to execute on all these different arms, we realized some of them do add value to the investment side, but adds less value on the distribution side.
Right.
Yeah. So then we've started to realize that actually putting effort in growing some of these pillars stop making sense.
Yeah.
And we should start refocusing some of the efforts, right? Yeah. So I think that's so like an example like Path Insights suddenly be like, okay, let's not push so hard on that, right? Doesn't make sense anymore, right? And if you go through like each of these pillars, for example, I think Path Ventures, Vicky mentioned, right? We did both liquid and illiquid investments, and we've realized that at our scale, at our connections within industry, doing VC was okay, but doing liquid investments, it's much better because we control the risk. I think we also built an edge in analyzing like secondary markets better. I mean, we personally created our own mark in the industry through secondary markets as well. So it's a game that we are very familiar with, right? And to date, I mean, our track record of all the realized profits that you guys see. I mean, recently we just did another buyback as well. This morning. It came from a liquid investment play. So that is something that we realized, okay, let's focus more, right? Gaming platform. It started off as we wanted to be like can we use the Steam for gamers, let's build gamer identities and whatnot, right?
Right.
And the idea and the goal was to like, how can we then house 1 million gamers right then? And we realized that to house 1 million gamers, you need to house 1 million communities. Maybe 100,000 communities, right? But to house these communities, you need some form of reason for these communities to come on board. You need to solve some form of pain point, right? And we've realized the way to do it in a more feasible way is to bring nucleus of these communities onto the platform. And this nucleus, we started to realize, were around content creators. Like communities in the gaming space tend to be built around gaming creators, right? Think Pokemon, think Valkyrie, think all these different groups of fans and stuff that's being built around these people, right? So we've realized that, okay, why don't we try to target more of this segment? And that's where we are today, right? We're trying to solve a problem for this creator segment. We're still in the midst of testing, experimenting to really get to the depth of it, right? So that's on gaming platform, right? We still go ahead and realize, okay, a lot of value to build distribution here. On the fintech side, we gave out almost 5 digits of loans, actually more than 5 digits of loans, right? But we're starting to realize that the original intention around the whole fintech space was to give loans on the information around the whole play to earn or gaming environment,
Right.
which in the past year declined quite tremendously, right? It was like, okay, shit, study XZ, you can't really earn much. You go into a new game as a scholar, you can't really earn much, right? So building a debt profile on these games suddenly doesn't make sense.
Right.
And that's where we started to pivot into, can we create a BNPL model for gaming NFTs?
Okay.
Which honestly we still are very bullish on. But yeah, the market is not ready.
Right.
So we actually tried, right? We actually went to games and we realized, oh shit, actually the purchase volume on a lot of NFTs are just like very, very small.
Right.
So just double downing and trying to floor the pedal on the fintech side on BNPL is not going to make sense. So that part we will defocus, right? Especially on the gamer section.
Yeah.
But there's a bit of a potential of using financial services to serve the content creators.
Yeah.
So that it become the nucleus for communities on our gaming platform.
Okay.
That approach we're still experimenting.
Right.
Right. No hard answer whether we'll go down yet. We'll
Yep.
probably get answer within a month or 2 months, right?
Yeah.
After like more testing. So yeah, a bit of, I would say, like, if you notice, right, on this gaming platform and on the fintech side, we push a product out and then we test it and then we realize actually maybe the market doesn't respond well to it, or
Yeah.
maybe we are too early for a market, right?
Mm.
So I think that's some of the phases that we're at in terms of the product
Yeah.
product building part. But I think what we feel is that by doing this, we gain a lot of insights in the industry. And that is the reason why we say, like, okay, going forward into 2023, right?
Yeah.
We still believe that distribution is key. It's a key value capture
Yeah.
for in the gaming industry. We still believe that housing communities of gamers
Yeah.
on the platform will still be the key way to leverage these communities and this distribution angle.
Yeah.
And how we're going to do it, it's by bringing creators on board onto the platform so the communities will follow them.
Right.
So that part is what we believe in and what we will double down on in 2023. How exactly the platform will look like, what are some of the key killer features, that part we are still in a refinement process. Stay tuned. Exactly. But we believe like that's where we will capture the most value for Path.
Yeah.
Now, one, not just from a revenue angle, right? Like stuff that you can obtain from game developers or other people in the ecosystem because they want to tap into distribution.
Yeah.
But also for the Path utility itself. Because you realize that if you have this platform and if your token powers the interactions between community members and their creators, that's where true utility comes.
Okay.
Right? It becomes a true mode of like currency, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's something where we believe that Path token holders can really benefit from, rather than just relying on the treasury growth itself.
Yeah.
Because we realize like, okay, to grow, if you have packed the treasury, right, to grow the value 5 times, you have to turn 15 million into what's 5 times? 15 times 5. 75 million.
Yeah.
I mean, by Web3 standards, you're outperforming every giant in the space.
That's pretty insane.
I mean, honestly, it's doable in a Web3 space, right? I think any VC knows that, right? But I'm just saying, like, the probability of that to happen, it's there.
Yeah.
That's why we are still doing that.
Yeah.
But by adding a utility value onto it as well, that's where you're going to start getting an exponential curve of demand. So yeah, so I think that's where we are changing, right? Like we are moving more from the whole guild-based model, plus investments, into a tech-based model. Let's build this platform. Let's be a tech company. Let's get more utility for Path tokens through housing these million communities.
That's really interesting, right? I know we've already dug deep into a little bit about the future. I mean, we gave like snippets here, but maybe just coming back to this, right? There were 5 things that you guys set out to do. There was the guild, there was ventures and VCs. And then there were also the other business model all around sort of attention and distribution, right? There's a lot of things. You guys grew from just, a few people to now 25. How did you split the work between you two and trying to manage these 5 things?
I mean, good question. Okay, so for example, like, we will have a slight focus on one or the other,
Right.
but we always make sure that 2 of us are sort of looking at all aspects of things. Partly because it's always good to have another pair of eyes. From a capacity point of view, actually, so far we don't see an issue, just because we think we built a very strong team who technically can look after themselves, right? Our job is to hire well and basically communicate what we want to achieve, right? Obviously, on a sort of regular basis, we check in, but otherwise, we don't have a really clear demarcation on the front.
No, fair. I am curious, right? Before we go again back to the future, right? Do you have any favorite stories for each and every one of these? Favorite story, highlight, low light, any drama? If
Yeah. I mean, I can start with one. So the Path Gaming platform. I mean, I'm not sure if it's appropriate to talk or share in Townhall.
okay, is it a memorable?
But I never care about appropriateness.
Sure.
So
As
when we first started Path Gaming platform, it was just more of riding the narrative, right? We knew for a fact that Web3 gaming will be big. It's not big today, which is a bit of a disappointment, a separate story, but it will come eventually. We thought, okay, if the first wave is gaming, the second wave will have to be about gaming platform. It's just very natural.
Yeah, fair.
And so everyone, suddenly you will see that trying to build like Steam for Web3. Right? We thought, that's a good idea, right? The question now is who can build faster? Who can build faster, and then who can then potentially go out to the investors and raise money. Now, bear in mind here, when we say we raise money, we are here to raise money to build. Right? We set out to do that, and we are always like with that vision, right? We want to build a product with millions of users, spreading the benefits of Web3, right? Decentralization, self custody, etc. But what happens then is obviously everyone bear market hit, and so many projects are doing exactly the same thing, and no one spoke to the users. We just basically think this is the way to build, and we built. And no one could raise any money, right, in a way. And so then we basically reflected and said, honestly, the vision stays the same. Right? We want to build a platform for gaming communities on sort of Web3 platform, right? But now this time is the time to talk to the users, which we have to admit that we didn't talk to them before. But it was a different timing and objective back then, right? So that was sort of like a one key learning, which is if in the future a second wave of bull market comes again, maybe we should still stick to the fundamentals, talking to the users and build from there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, maybe for you to share the question was, what's a cool story?
What's a cool story? Good, bad. Yeah, out of the 5 pillars. Where did you spend most of your time at? Or is it you're spread out everywhere?
I pretty much cover everything, right, at my scale. But I think I'm trying to think what's cool, right?
Some of the Ponzi games that we.
Oh yeah, no. Oh, I remember that one. Yes. No, actually, there's 2 cool stories. I mean, one, I think many people would know, right? Like the PathDAO days.
Ooh.
You guys know. But effectively, like, when we entered PathDAO back then, it was initially a pure strategic investment move. Like we knew from a lot of our insider information, not insider, but like behind the scenes information, that a lot of XZ people or like key guilds wanted to move to PathDAO.
Yeah.
It was a form of coordinated move, right? So because we knew that, we got into it early. And then everyone started promoting in, right? On this like quite Ponzi-ish game, because you pretty much just click a button, right?
Right.
And we did well.
Yeah.
We got quite a lot of gains, but I think it went to a point where we realized, oh shit, the economy is gonna crack. There's just no clear burn sinks. It's gonna die, right?
Yeah.
And that's where we started like giving a warning to our community to be like, okay, we're gonna stop operating in PathDAO. We're gonna scale down the operations. But I think in reality that was only like after 3 weeks of operating or something, right?
Yeah.
So I think somehow someone, and it was an internal announcement. Someone took that announcement and put it on Twitter.
Oh
And I was like,
no.
fuck, man. Like, suddenly everyone was like saying that, oh shit, PathDAO is like funding PathDAO.
Legacy.
And yeah, I mean, we were, because of the amount of level of fund, we are kind of forced to like not sell everything.
Yeah.
So we held like $300,000 back then worth
Yeah.
of assets.
Yeah.
It was at peak, it was like I think 1.5 million. So we did take capital back. We did make some decent profits of it, but then we had like 300,000 left because everyone's saying like, "Fuck, man, guys, like what the fuck are you guys doing to this gaming ecosystem?"
Yeah.
So we actually stopped, and then we just continued being an ecosystem, and then but as expected, it.
But we went in through secondary market though.
Yeah,
we
okay.
have every right to sell.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think that's a very important point as well, right? Because we came in on the secondary market, so it's not like you do a VC play, you're there committed to the team, you're meant to execute, right? This was a pure trade play. We saw opportunity from a treasury management perspective, makes sense to go in, right? And we barely had any relationships with the team as well. So yeah, but I think we got a lot of fun from the PathDAO gamers.
Yeah.
And some Philippines guilds. But I think on hindsight, we made a good move, I would say, right? We protected our stakeholders.
Yeah.
And I think as of today, I think people still say that, oh shit, actually we are good indicators of an economy, because if you get out of something, people should start getting.
Yep. Fair. It's a
So
good sign, actually.
That was one, right? I mean, that was one. The other one, honestly, that another interesting memory was Step N, right?
Yeah.
We were one of the earliest in the ecosystem.
Right.
We were in Step N end of January. Back then there were not many people using the like playing the ecosystem. So we like started with just 10,000 just to test out, right? Okay, does this work? And then it became, okay, fuck it, makes sense. Let's put in 100K in, right?
Yeah.
And we started growing that back, right? It started growing massively. And then they started to launch their GMT token, right?
Yeah.
So they airdrop their GMT token to many of us in the company and also to our backs, because we were very early, right?
Yeah.
The biggest regret was selling that token at 15 cents.
Oh.
Because we thought like, oh shit, everyone's going to get dropped. It's going to be hyper diluted. And we didn't know that they were defining a new narrative of the whole move to earn concept.
Right.
1 week later, it became $1. 3 weeks later, it became $3.
Damn.
That was the biggest miss, honestly, that I still regret until today, right? Because if you can put $500,000 in there, we'll be having a different story today as well.
Very true.
Yep.
Very true.
So that two interesting stories from the investment side.
Damn. Okay. Well, great. Honestly, great stories. I mean, some goods, some bads, some misses, but I think moving to the future, obviously, we're hoping that the things that we're building are, obviously going to deliver value, and 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, that's going to convert into something that's worthwhile for not just us, but I think for all of us, right?
Yep.
We need to answer questions.
Yes. Oh, come. Let's answer one question, right? I think we've got quite a few. It's a bit hard to see, so I'm going to just quickly go through the list. Okay, let's just pull one out from Samuel. Sorry? Oh, yeah. Choose for us then. Yes. You've got someone.
So we have producers
It's
behind the scenes.
it's Claire, by the way, behind.
Behind the
a lot
camera,
of
we've got-
community members know actually.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me. I said,
What are the mistakes PathDAO has made and will improve next year?
What? Yeah. So sorry. What are the mistakes that PathDAO has made and will improve this year and will improve next year?
There are a lot of mistakes. Some mistakes, I don't know if you could fix it next year.
So you gotta.
I guess I'm gonna go first.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, I mean, I kind of mentioned just now on the mistake, which is, again, we have too much energy, too many ideas, and the resources to pursue so many interesting stuff out there. And naturally, as the mantra of a degen, we are always thinking about risk reward, right? We are saying if I put in this amount of time, the potential payout is that much. No brainer. We should fucking do it.
Yeah.
Right. But the problem that we didn't realize is that if we do this kind of multiple bets, it distracts the focus and actually take away um, the external story of PathDAO. Because when you're doing too many, it becomes very hard for people to understand what you're trying to do. For example, the 5 sort of pentagon that you saw just now, right?
Yeah.
It actually takes some time to explain. Let's put it that way, right? So, um, moving on to next year, which actually I think we will get to that in a bit, we try to simplify. We try to focus our energy, and let's see how it goes.
Yeah. For sure. Anything to add?
I think for me, it's more of, it was always a struggle to balance the opinions of people in the DAO, right? And what's actually best for the company. And I think throughout the past year, we've started to realize like there are a lot of different actors in the space with different intentions or objectives, right? And there are people who can be vocal, but with very short-term objectives.
Yeah.
Right. Which could be detriment for the long run vision. Right.
Yeah.
I think for me I would say mistake, but I think we tend to do a lot of things in the first few months to, I would say, placate, right, or to listen to these people, right. But I think going forward, I think knowing what we know now in the space, building the amount of experience that we have, I think we're more confident to actually take a harder stance, in a sense, right? Like if what we think it's good for the long run, that is something that we will push for, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's something that, I think it's worth fighting for, right? Rather than trying to be nice, right? And trying to get everyone's idea in and do things fully collectively.
How
right?
do you balance that with the fact that we're actually a DAO?
No, let's say that's a very good point, right? I mean, in the end, it will come up to a vote. Being an organization, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's probably on us to be more convincing. Like, I know if it doesn't work, we should have more chats with these individual people who don't believe and see if we can work our ideas through, right? And finally, if it doesn't, it will just come down to a vote lah.
Yeah.
So ideally, if personally, if you collected more Path tokens, you get to vote more. So
I guess one thing to call out here is that everyone still has the opportunity to voice their opinion and bring it to the vote, right? Even though if the founding team does not agree, right? That's the true spirit of DAO, and then we bring it to the vote. We will never suppress. We'll try our best to listen and see how it goes.
It's interesting you guys mentioned, the point on, DAO, listening to the voices, and of course doing too much, right? I've been sort of reading, PathDAO into 2023. You guys can check it out on the Medium. There is this picture, strategy into 2023 that kind of teases some bits that I want to get into, right? Maybe you could flash that up.
Should we answer one more question?
Yeah, let's answer one more question then. Yeah, go ahead. Pick one more out.
Let's be more interactive.
Yeah, we should. We answer one question and we get into it. Oh, okay. Let's read it out. It says, Samuel Ramirez, my question is it in your plans to reward the most active users in PathPlay, level and tier? And if so, it ends there. Okay, yeah. Most active users, reward. Any thoughts?
No, I think there's a reason why we have community tokens in our tokenomics. It's meant to reward the community. The criteria, though, is not actually based on level of activity, but level of contribution. So you can be inactive, but if we deem, or the DAO deem, that you contribute a lot to the community,
Yeah.
then you deserve the community tokens, right? Obviously, I can't give you an answer as to what exactly I need to do to get the tokens yet, but I guess I would urge the community to actually think more about what can I do for the community first,
Yeah.
and trust us, we will definitely recognize that and actually reward accordingly. But it's not supposed to be overly transactional. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That is a question actually I want to get into, but probably later, about community and building, right? Do we want? Let's get to the
2023.
2023, right? This picture sort of tells me that obviously there is a focus now, right? Path Play, it's the center. And then we see a little bit of these building blocks. And at the bottom is Path Labs. Walk us through a little bit about what this is about.
I mean, Jensen came up with this graphic, so
Okay.
shall let him explain?
Go for it,
I think we've alluded to this a bit at the start, right? But
Yeah.
I think effectively going to 2023 with the same vision that we want to really capture the distribution value of gamers. Hence, we want to build these millions of gamer communities within our platform, right? So that's a focus, right? And the platform is PathPlay. So you can think of it as this is a place where communities hang out, right? Now the question then it's what do they do, right? Or what value can they get by being on a platform, right?
Yeah.
And that's where we believe that having an incubation arm can help.
Okay.
And the objective of this incubation arm, which we call here Path Labs, right?
Yeah.
It's to either churn out projects that could add specific value to the communities on PathPlay. Let me give you an example, right? It could be saying like, okay, we have a bunch of cosplaying communities on PathPlay. And someone within the community or within the DAO or outside, right, has an idea of like, hey, let's help cosplayers get better financial access. So maybe the way to do it is by looking at the sales data on the platform and then potentially giving them loans or a credit card, for example, because banks today don't serve them.
Right.
So if they come up with that idea, right, Path Labs responsibility is to fund these ideas, to incubate them with the resources that we have, tech capabilities, product building capabilities, and whatnot, to then make sure that this project can actually add value to these communities on PathPlay.
Yeah.
So it becomes like you see like these cards, right? Like they are augmentation cards, right, into what the PathPlay platform can be.
Right.
It could be things that adds value outside the platform. It could be things that adds value within the platform.
Right.
Right. It could be a protocol that says like, hey, look, I will leverage the identity of every gamer on PathPlay, and I will say build you a 3D virtual avatar based on the comments that you make, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And you can use this avatar maybe in Sandbox. Okay, maybe that's a cool idea. I don't know. I'm just creating something out right now, right? That's where Path Labs will incubate this company,
right,
and project, plug it into PathPlay, right? So it benefits the communities within PathPlay. So I think what you're seeing here is the core focus into 2023 is really building around PathPlay. How can we bring first 100 million gaming communities onto it, and then how can we build value, right, to these people, right? Innovation. Yeah, effectively it is an innovation generator, right, for PathPlay.
I was reading something, briefly in the article, and it spoke about labs being sort of this grant provider. How does the community or the DAO participate in this?
So there's really two parts to it. So before I even touch the grant, right? So the idea behind Play, it's once we have set up Play in a way that it's strong enough to get its initial base of users, the thinking is to then start decentralizing the platform, right? Decentralizing the ownership of the identities and the data and whatever, right? So you suddenly become a decentralized social platform. Right. Initially, it would have to be centralized first, just for ease of implementation. But the idea is once it's decentralized, there's two parts to it, right? One, users own their data. They can bring stuff out. But two, developers or builders can actually build on the platform themselves.
Yeah.
So like if I think I want to leverage this information and these users, I want to build a protocol
Right.
or an app within your app, you can do it as well.
Right.
So that is the, I would say, the end goal of what we want PathPlay to be, right? In the whole spirit of Web3 and decentralization. So yeah, that's the goal. So now then the question then it's how do you fund that goals, right? Because I think in the end, if you want to build this ecosystem, it takes capital to build stuff.
Yeah.
So that's where PathLabs come in, right?
Yeah.
With the grant provision. And the idea is that, let's say if you are a developer and you're keen, or you're a builder, right? You don't have to be a developer, but you have this idea, you have this passion to keep, and you're keen to build something of value that you think PathPlay communities can benefit from.
Yeah.
You come to us, right? And you say like, I have this idea, this is what I want to do, this is how much I need.
Yeah.
Can I get funded to build? Then we have an assessment committee for that, and if you get it, great for you, right? But that part, I would say that's a second stage.
Second stage.
Right? Both on the grant side and also on the PathPlay being an open decentralized platform side, it's going to be second stage.
Yeah.
I think our core focus for the first half of the year, or even next year, the full next year, right, is how can we really grow the users on PathPlay.
Yeah.
And a lot of the focus on these users will come very likely from the Web2 space,
Yeah.
the Web2 gaming space.
Gotcha. And I just want to add a point here that, you mentioned this in sort of first phase, second phase, but, anytime within the community, part of being in a community is that you are the end users. So as and when you're sort of watching us, reading into us, using some of the platforms, feel free to suggest, what do you think makes sense? What value should be brought to this gaming industry, right? And how best can we build it? And if not, if you have a brilliant idea and you have not just an idea, but maybe a team of people, come to us. And we'll hash it out, we'll chat it out, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, quick question time. One question, let's go. What do we have? What do you have planned for your community in 2023? How do you plan to keep them active? Ooh. What do you have planned for the community?
In 2023,
In 2023.
we're going to grow PathPlay, right?
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of shit that's going to happen. Honestly, what we have seen, there'll be a lot of activations that be done online.
Yeah.
Mainly on PathPlay. It could be drops, rewards, competition, contests, whatever it might be, right?
Yeah.
But I think what we are also doing is we're going to do a lot more on the ground activations as well. And this is alongside one of the core communities that's being built, which is called Team Path, which is it's a community of gamers that would rally around a competitive team. Yeah. And then that's going to grow into a lifestyle brand, right? But I think there's going to be a lot of events that's happening on the ground, right? Right now, we're doing a lot in Malaysia. We're going to do more in Singapore. If you guys are part of these two countries, come and join.
Yeah.
And hopefully, we would scale to the wider Southeast Asia region soon.
Gotcha. Actually, wait, sorry. Team Path, is that one card that is part of PathPlay, or?
It's actually right now a separate, I would say it's a separate initiative, right?
Right.
I think the idea of Team Path was we wanted to see how can we capture, it started off as how can we capture attention within the Web2 gamer space. And so we started off an esports team. And it did pretty well, right? Got a bit of traction here in Southeast Asia. But we realized that, hey, building an esports alone is not going to be sufficient to actually add value to PathDAO as a whole, right? So we were thinking like, okay, what's important for you to achieve? We realized that, okay, how can we use it as a revenue driver? And that's where it started to evolve it into something bigger than esports, evolving into a gaming lifestyle brand. And the idea is like, hey, look, we want to create a brand where every gamer would feel proud being a gamer, right?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, hey, look, I'm just gonna wrap this shirt, wrap this wear, wherever I go.
Yeah.
So that's something that we're doing. It's a bit of like another incubated project.
Yeah.
It's not really. I wouldn't say it's core related to Pathplay.
Yeah.
But that part is growing quite autonomously.
Check out Team Path Official on TikTok and Instagram.
Yeah.
Follow us.
Team Path
Honestly,
official.
there's some really cool shit happening there. You might expect some merch drops.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to buy them because it's a brand.
You can't get it for free.
in February or March, but it's really cool shit. Honestly,
Yeah.
like it would redefine what lifestyle brand is going to be. So that part, you guys should stay tuned to as well.
Gotcha. All right, let's do one question, and then we'll segue to a different topic. What do we have?
It's a big strategy.
Is there a big strategy for token path investors so it can bring so it can order to bring more investors and invest more? Is there a token strat?
Basically, how can we pump the price?
Yes, and get more investors. Yes. Strong question.
Our job is to bring value to Path token holders.
Yeah.
That's the only reason we are doing everything here, right? Obviously, in order to achieve that, we build great products, we do good investments. We truly believe that in order to bring in investors or price or whatever, the most important thing to do is to bring utility to the tokens. People actually want the token.
Yeah.
Not to make money specifically, but there's a specific reason why you buy, because you need to pay gas or you need to use as a currency to buy something else, for example, right? That's exactly why we are building Pathplay. And everything we do, again, is to return value back to the token holders.
Yeah.
We realize that marketing or whatever investor relation strategy do not really work in the long run to bring in sort of Path token values, because these are artificial demand, right? I mean, you can hire the best influencer in the world, but if your product is shit, the price won't hold.
Yeah.
Right. So we are in this for the long run, building, and the market will do its own job.
Absolutely. Yeah. Actually, then moving on to
Cheers.
Cheers. Let's do
Bubble
it.
tea from Malaysia.
Hope we get sponsored. Let's do secret code number 2. I know some of you have been waiting for quite a while. Pathplay secret code number 2 is Path 2023. PATH 2023. That's the secret code.
PATH 2023.
That's right.
Bahasa Melayu here.
Take it down. I want to get a little bit into, some of the things that you spoke about, which is, Pathplay, a bit of Team Path, maybe focusing on Pathplay, right? How do you think about competition in this space? Because I'm pretty sure, someone else out there is also building, maybe Pathplay
The
equivalent,
cringe answer is that we believe in collaboration, not competition.
right?
But obviously, it's never really that true
Right.
in the business world.
Right.
I think if we think about Pathplay, we don't really see like specific Web3 competitor.
Right.
But broadly in general, when you think about community, you're basically trying to get users from Discord. Could be Instagram, Facebook groups, pair pop, or whatever they're assuming now. We have literally like an idea maze with like almost 100 of names, right?
Yeah.
When we first started though, I mean, obviously not competitor, I wouldn't say competitor, but the scene was more from the guild side of things, right? We have obviously the OG YGG, but now I think it's the stronger guys are probably like Merit Circle or like Guild 5, Ancient 8, Avocado DAO, etc. And as you would potentially observe, right, actually most of them have sort of already like deviated from the core.
Yes.
Like us.
Right. We've pivoted. Yeah.
Yeah, we pivoted. So yeah, I mean, I think like for example, Merit Circle has sort of pivoted into sort of an investment DAO. I mean, personally, really respect Mark as a builder. He's an amazing investor. So they're doing sort of a VC front.
Yeah.
Guild5 is focusing on like the sort of influencer marketing / gaming platform idea. Everyone's doing different things, so it's a bit hard to define the competitive space, to be honest.
Fair. Do you have a take?
Yep.
No takes.
Touch it.
Cool. I'm not. Yeah, let's do one more question. We're like interjecting one question here and there.
You have to answer questions, guys.
Exactly.
This is, do you have plans to make a PathDAO app? Do you just speak? Like, are you part of our team? How do you know that we are building an app? That
Alpha.
is true. That is really true.
Yeah.
I'll let Jensen elaborate the details.
I like it.
I mean, there's not much details, but effectively, the idea is that yes, because I think we've touched this in the previous, one of the previous town halls, because we found out that many of you guys want that notification, right? And we realized that notifications are so important for the growth of the platform, and the best ways to have that is by having an app. So, 100%, it's coming soon.
I think one thing to add is that like the whole experience of crypto is actually really bad, right? You have this whole MetaMask and like you have to be on a laptop and get hacked all the time, etc. It's true. It's a truth that everyone uses phone most of the time rather than whipping out your laptop. And if the end goal is to get 1 million users, the most natural way is to build a mobile app. So 100% no brainer, right? And actually, at the same time, if you want to think about having access to most of the population in the world, a lot of people do not have a computer. So we also want to build stuff for the mobile app for better experience and higher accessibility, right? I mean, for example, I just saw like some of our friends here from Venezuela, from Philippines, and like we know for a fact that most population there prefer to use phone over laptop or computer. And we want to build products for the community. So in this case, the mobile app is a very natural choice. So stay tuned. We'll let you guys know.
All right, stay tuned. Let's take more questions from the community. Are there any more? Keep it coming.
This one, NFT.
Is it an NFT base or just an app for our community? It's a mobile app, kind of like Facebook app. You know, you log in and then you sort of interact with your friends, etc. That's the idea, and we will be launching it soon. Yep.
Okay, cool. Any more that we're looking at? No? All right, cool. Well, actually, maybe one fun question would be, I don't know if it's fun, but like,
make it fun, man.
Personal. Okay, like maybe stepping back from PathDAO a little bit, because PathDAO is built by quite a number of people, but you guys are spearheading it, right? What's a personal goal that, I don't know if it's for the company, but for yourself, that you'd like to achieve? This is stepping outside of PathDAO a little bit, but I guess maybe personal goal in running PathDAO or personal goal in something, right?
It's very deep.
It's a bit too deep?
It's very deep.
I mean, I can start first. Like for me, life is actually very simple, right? Like I don't think it's not too much about money. And I honestly don't think if I 100x my net worth today, I'll be any happier. Right. I'm very happy, very contented with the fact that we have a very driven team together, moving towards a single goal, which in this case is to build a product that's used by millions. And hopefully at the same time bringing utility to the Path token, and hopefully the price go up.
That's right.
Right. But those are secondary, right? It's the journey that counts. Every day we wake up, we are extremely driven in a very exciting space. Every single day there's news. We're scrolling Twitter all the time for the dopamine, but at the same time building products, right? So there's not really a goal per se. Like obviously you want to like build a product that people want to use, but I'm happy. And I really don't think like I don't think I need more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just by doing what I do today, it's good.
I think that's actually very powerful, because it's like sometimes when you think about having goals, you're never fulfilled. And then because of that sort of feeling, your output's a bit, here and there per se. Whereas when you're happy, then the things you're doing, how you're influencing people, how you're influencing product, actually comes from a happy place. And so there's like some positive spillover.
McDonald's.
Yeah. I don't know anything.
Your turn,
from you,
bro.
or-
You have to say something.
Your question was what's the
Yeah.
personal goal?
Personal goal for yourself in maybe running the company or not.
Yeah,
Bigger biceps.
nah, no lah. But I think it's always the same, right? I think even before we started Path, right? I think Vicky and I we did a couple of projects before,
Yeah.
right? And I think while we were working a full-time job, right? I think a lot of that was driven by I think a need to build something that people would really love,
Hmm.
right? And I think that's it, right? Like how can we build something that people love?
Yeah.
Right. It could be a community or it could be a product.
Yeah.
It has a lot of communities, right? Like,
Yeah.
What can we do to make people love what we build?
All right. So make sure you love us. Cool. I think that's about it. Do we have any more questions? One more, final one, and then we'll wrap it up.
You spend December.
Sorry. Yes. Will you spend December 31st working? Damn.
It depends on what day we set.
It depends on what day.
What is December 31st?
If it's a weekday, for sure we'll work.
Yeah.
No brainer.
Okay. So if it's a weekday, we will work.
It's a weekend.
It's a weekend.
Yeah, we still
Okay
work,
lah.
actually. but we don't go to the office. We don't go to the office, right? But like, when you're right, your mind is always like on it.
Fair. Fair. So yes, all 25 of us will be working. Fair, fair, fair. Okay, cool. I think it has been awesome chatting with you guys. And yes, happy anniversary.
Yep. It's great being one. Let's see you guys at 10.
We'll see you guys at 10. That's it. Roll the outro.